In 2025, online dating is the most common way couples meet, with over 60% of new couples meeting through it. Yet somehow, the average man is getting less than a single match per day on Tinder. With meeting in person dying and more women than ever on dating apps, how is it that most men don't get any matches? Do women really just not like the average man? Or is there something else going on here? In this video, I run multiple Tinder experiments and go through all the numbers to find out exactly why men get so few matches on dating apps, and what you can do about it. So let's start with the basics. The math just isn't in men's favor. Say you're looking to try dating apps, and you have the choice of two apps. App number 1 has 2 women for every 1 man, and app number 2 has 2 men for every 1 woman. If you assume the amount of users and the swiping patterns of those users are the same, picking app number 1 would result in you getting 4 times as many matches as app number 2, as there are half as many women swiping, and they're swiping on a pool twice as large. The issue is, in real life, every dating app is app number 2. Every dating app on the market is kind of a sausage fest, with 2 men to 1 woman being the standard, inherently making matches plentiful for women and sparse for men. It starts to get really bad when we look at the distribution of the likes, though. On Hinge, 60% of all likes go to the top 10% of profiles on the app, and only a staggering 4.3% of all likes go to the bottom 50%, creating a match distribution mathematically more unequal than the economy of Venezuela. With already not a ton of likes going around in the first place, this leaves the bottom 50% of men with basically nothing. The next question is, what are the guys at the top doing that the guys at the bottom aren't? Why is the distribution so unequal? Are 10% of men really that good looking? Or are the top 10% of profiles doing something else? That's where the first experiment comes in. So, for the first experiment, I used my girlfriend to create a Tinder profile as a woman and waited for 100 likes to come in, which took about 30 minutes.
Could you make me a woman?
I then bought Tinder Gold, which let me see the guys that had liked the profile, and then got her to sort them into 6 categories. 1. Most girls I know would swipe. 2. Some girls I know might swipe. 3. No one's swiping, bad photos. 4. No one swiping needs to fix his appearance, weight, hair, skin, etc. 5. No one swiping needs to fix both. 6. No one swiping, period. Unfortunately, poor looks. This was the distribution of the men's profiles across the 6 categories. I'm sure you noticed something strange. There's only 5 categories here. That's because no one who needed to fix their appearance already had good photos. Kind of interesting. Unsurprisingly, only 22 of the 100 profiles fell into categories 1 and 2. 20% of guys getting 80% of the matches was kind of the expected outcome. But what was surprising to me was how many guys just had bad photos. Over 50% of guys had good enough looks to get matches, but just the lowest effort photos you could take. Selfies, group photos where you can't tell who's who, just weird angles, and a surprising amount of memes. Anyways, 22% of guys needed to work on their appearance and get photos, improving appearance being primarily losing weight and managing hair loss, and only 2% of guys were, in her opinion, unattractive enough that they would likely need to do some extreme measures to get matches. Personally, I had 3 big takeaways from this experiment. 1 was how little effort men put into their dating app profiles. The vast majority of profiles look like dudes just picked the first 6 photos of themselves they had in their camera roll. 2 was how little men understand about what women are looking for on dating apps. When swiping on a dating app, most women just want to know if they're physically attracted to you and if you live a lifestyle they would be interested in joining. Same things they've always looked for. So, photos where she can't tell it's you, or what you look like, or you look your worst in them are seriously hurting your chances at matching. And photos that don't indicate you live a nice lifestyle are doing the same thing. The secret sauce to a good dating app profile is every photo shows you looking your best, living a nice lifestyle. And it was very surprising how little men, like 4%, understood this. And 3 was none of the 100 guys were just Giga Chad models with some selfies. The top 4% of profiles, the guys that in her opinion most women would swipe on, were pretty regular SMB maxed guys with good photos. The Giga Chads you see online obviously do kill it on dating apps, but they are way rarer than the top 1%. The top 5 to 10% of guys on dating apps, the guys getting most of the matches, are for the most part regularish guys with maxed out appearances and profiles. Okay, so the average guy on dating apps doesn't get any matches, but he also doesn't put any effort into his photos and doesn't take great care of his looks. So the obvious next question is, how many likes could an average man get if he maxed out his appearance and optimized his profile? This is my friend, Eric. He's a pretty average looking guy. Okay, he's probably a little bit above average. To his credit though, I believe this is mostly due to maxing out his appearance. Nothing you couldn't do. He's low body fat. He has a solid haircut for his hair type and level of hair loss. And he has clear skin thanks to taking the right actions. And I believe if these factors weren't in check, his looks would be a little below average. But with them in check, he's a little above average. So overall, he makes a great representation for the average man from a looks genetics standpoint. And a great test subject to find out what a maxed out average man can do on Tinder in 2025. How the experiment worked. For the experiment, I put together 4 profiles. Profile number 1, the standard guy profile, aka bad profile. Profile number 2, standard guy profile with shirtless pictures. Yes, he has a good physique, nothing you couldn't achieve with 1 to 2 years of intelligent training though. Profile number 3, a profile with optimized photos without a shirtless picture. And profile number 4, a profile with optimized photos including a shirtless picture. I then ran all 4 profiles in Chicago, a diverse North American city with a population of 2.7 million people, for 48 hours each from Wednesday to Friday, using a boost at 12 p.m. on the second day. Keep watching to see how effective it was. After the 48 hours were up, I liked all the profiles and waited another 48 hours to see how many messages he received, and then tracked all the data. Across the 48-hour duration, profile number 1, the bad profile, unsurprisingly received the least amount of likes, with 7. And profile number 4, the fully optimized profile, unsurprisingly received the most with 126. An 18x multiplier. The next question is how much of this massive improvement in profile success can be attributed to the good physique versus the better photos? Well, profile number 2, the bad photos good physique one, received 55 likes across the 48 hours, 7.8 times the bad profile. Profile number 3, the great photos no physique one, received 44 likes across the 48 hours, 6.3 times the standard profile. Meaning, in this experiment, having a good physique was shown to be about 25% more impactful than great photos, but both made a massive difference to the overall amount of attention received, especially when you do both. It only gets more interesting from here though, because as we all know, all likes aren't created equal. Some people are better looking than others. I additionally decided to place the attractiveness of the women who liked the profiles into 3 tiers. High would stand out in a group as particularly attractive. Medium, most men would be happy to date but doesn't particularly stand out. And low, only a minority of men would want to date. This doesn't necessarily mean undateable or anything though. And I got back some pretty interesting results. The profiles essentially all received the same percentages from each attractiveness tier, with one exception. The bad profile, profile number 1, had 85% of its likes coming from the bottom tier and 0% from the top, standing out from the other 3, which all received approximately 10% high, 50% medium, 40% low. It's worth keeping in mind, everyone has their types though. So realistically, you watching this would probably, from a purely looks perspective, be happy to date 25 to 45% of the women who swiped on the more successful profiles, depending on how picky you are. As far as the messages that came in, women who message first are generally willing to go out with you if you seem normal and have a good converting text funnel. The results weren't too different from the likes received. The two main differences between the likes results and the message results were none of the high-tier women messaged first, and the gap between profile 2 and 3 grew wider. Both worth noting, but it's also worth keeping in mind this experiment is an N of 1 sample size, and the messages in particular are a very small sample size, so variation is to be expected. Now about the boosts. How effective were they? Are dating apps actually pay to win? Well, they definitely help, but the results were pretty mixed. Here's the amount of likes each profile received throughout the duration of the boost. The boosts appear to be very effective when you have a great profile, while having mixed results when you don't. So I wouldn't say pay to win, maybe pay to enhance. Before I go over some conclusions, I want to acknowledge that this isn't perfect science. This is one experiment in one city with one person. So don't take everything in this video as fact, but I do think there's some interesting and potentially useful takeaways for you to keep in mind next time you attempt to use dating apps. And speaking of takeaways, here's mine. So why don't most men get matches on dating apps? From my perspective, there's 3 reasons. Bad photos, poor looks maintenance, and genetics. In that order. Most guys' biggest reason for struggling on dating apps is bad photos. As someone who's taken Tinder photos for various guys and seen the results they got, I can confirm that simply just upgrading your photos to be maximized to the female gaze will give 60+% of guys enough matches to get at least 1 day per week with dating apps. Another 30% need to do some SMV maxing, lose weight, improve skin, hair, teeth, etc., and get good photos. And then like 2 to 10% of guys, unfortunately, just don't have the genetic base to get a significant enough amount of matches to regularly get dates off dating apps without surgery or other extreme measures. If you watching this aren't getting the kind of matches you want, and you're not in the bottom 40% of looks, aka the guys who need to Looksmaxx to get matches, then I have something for you. If you want multiple dates per week with women who are excited to go out with you, all from the comfort of your own home without needing to cold approach women on the street,
What are you doing today anyway?
or do a day-long photo shoot, or join a women's Pilates class, then click the first link in the description. It'll take you to my website, where I break down exactly how to get high-quality, attractive pictures, optimized for the female gaze, proven to get matches at elite rates, without needing to go through the hassle of, or pay the high price of, a full photo shoot. It's some super cool stuff. So click the first link in the description if you're in the looks range mentioned and want more matches. And I'll see you in the next one.